and welcome to the Annual General Meeting of Unitholders of Granite Real Estate Investment Trust. Please note that today's meeting is being recorded. If you participate in today's meeting and disclose personal information, you will be deemed to consent to the recording, transfer, and use of same. If you disclose personal information of another person in today's meeting, you will be deemed to represent and warrant to Odyssey Trust Company and Granite Real Estate Investment Trust that you first obtained all required consents for the disclosure, recording, transfer, and use of personal information from all appropriate persons before your disclosure. During the meeting, we will have a question and answer session. You can submit questions or comments at any time by clicking on the messaging tab. It is now my pleasure to turn today's meeting over to Kelly Marshall, Chair of the Board of Trustees of Granite Real Estate Investment Trust. Mr. Marshall, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kelly Marshall, Chair of the Board speaking, and I would like to welcome you to the 2026 Annual General Meeting of Unitholders of Granite Real Estate Investment Trust. Today's meeting will be conducted virtually by way of a live audio webcast. Holding a virtual meeting, we believe, enables unitholders to attend and enjoy an equal opportunity to participate in the meeting, regardless of their location. We have made every effort to afford unitholders the same rights that they would have had at a physical meeting by enabling registered unitholders and duly appointed proxy holders to listen to the meeting, submit questions, and vote online in real time. As in past years, a majority of the votes have been cast in advance of the meeting by proxy. If you submitted your vote in advance of today's meeting and do not wish to revoke your vote, do not vote again during the online ballot. In order for us to undertake the business of the meeting expediently, we request that if a unitholder has a comment or question on the formal business of the meeting, please make such written submission now. Please clearly identify the item of formal business to which your submission applies. During the meeting, at the appropriate time, any such submission will be addressed prior to voting on the applicable motion. For the good conduct of the meeting, questions should be of interest to all unitholders and not personal in nature. If your question is related to a personal matter, a Granite representative will communicate with you after the meeting if you have provided your correct information. Following the formal business of the meeting and management's presentation, we will have a question and answer session. If you have any questions not specifically relating to an item of formal business to be discussed at today's meeting, please feel free to submit those questions at any time during the meeting, and we will do our best to address such questions at the conclusion of the meeting. Questions can be submitted at any time during the meeting until the chair closes the session. All questions, to the extent not deemed offensive or inappropriate, will be read verbatim for the benefit of all unitholders participating in the meeting. To submit a question, select the messaging tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Type your message within the text box of the messaging screen and then click the send button. When asking a question, please indicate your name, company, if any, and email, and confirm that you are a registered unitholder or a duly appointed proxy holder. If you have an objection to an item of business, please follow the same procedure at the appropriate time. Before I commence with the formal business of the meeting, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank Peter Agar and Sheila Murray, who are retiring from Granite REIT's board, for their significant contributions and dedicated service over the years. And on a personal note, I would like to echo that by saying that they were tremendous and tremendously important individuals who allowed us to reach the success that we have, and we will miss them dearly. I would like now to introduce other trustees who are attending today's meeting. Robert Brower, Amber Chowdhury, Remco Dahl, Kevin Gorey, also Granite's President and CEO, Fern Grodner, Jonathan Kelly, Al Mawani, Emily Pang, and Jennifer Warren. Also attending today's live audio webcast are Teresa Neto, CFO, Lauren Kumar, EVP, Head of Global Real Estate, Mike Ramparis, EVP, Global Real Estate and Head of Investments, and Lawrence Clarkfield, EVP, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary. The matters of business to be conducted today were described in the Management Information Circular dated April 9, 2026, made available to unitholders, along with the notice of this meeting. Voting at today's meeting will be open to registered unitholders and duly appointed proxy holders and will be conducted by online ballot in accordance with the instructions that were provided. As I mentioned earlier, if you have already voted by proxy, there is no need for you to vote online since your vote will be recorded in accordance with the proxy instructions. The polls are now open for all items of business. This will allow you to vote on each item immediately, or if you prefer, you wait until the conclusion of the discussion on each item prior to casting your vote. The matters of business to be voted on and your available voting options will be visible on the voting panel on your screen, provided you are logged in as a registered unit holder or duly appointed proxy holder. To submit a vote, please click on the voting choice displayed on your screen. Once discussion has concluded in all matters of business, you have a few minutes to enter the votes. I will then declare the voting closed on all matters of business. I will announce the results of the votes for all matters at the conclusion of the meeting. In order to expedite matters, I have requested that certain persons make and second the formal motions, and I will call on these persons at the appropriate time. Following the formal business of the meeting, Kevin Gorey, Granite's President and CEO, will make a presentation, and there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation. Before we proceed further, I want to note that in the course of today's meetings, including during the presentation and question and answer period, trustees and officers of Granite REIT may, in their remarks or in response to questions, make certain statements which contain forward-looking information. I draw your attention to the cautionary note regarding such statements on the screen. I will now call the meeting to order. And with the consent of the meeting, I will act as chair, and I will ask Lawrence Clarkfield to act as secretary. Unless there is an objection, I will appoint Patty Signanis of Odyssey Trust to act as scrutineer for the meeting. As there is no objection, I appoint Patty Signanis, apologies if I messed that up, from Odyssey to act as scrutineer. The notice calling this meeting together with a form of proxy and circular have been provided or made available to each of the trustees, Granite's auditor, and each intermediary and registered unit holder record as of April 9th, 2026, the record date for this meeting. The annual report containing the consolidated combined financial statements of Granite Real Estate Investment Trust for the financial years ended December 31, 2025, and 2024, and the auditor's report thereon have also been provided or made available to unit holders. With the consent of the meeting, I will dispense with the reading of the notice of the meeting. The scrutineer has provided me with the preliminary report regarding attendance. The scrutineer reports that there are present at this meeting in person or represented by proxy holders of units holding 46,869,025 units, representing 77.28% of the issued and outstanding units. Accordingly, I confirm that the requisite quorum is present, and I declare the meeting is duly and properly constituted for the transaction of business. I direct that the confirmation of the mailing received from Odyssey Trust Company and scrutineer's report in the meeting be annexed to the minutes of the meeting. The secretary has the minutes of the last meeting of unit holders, and these can be examined at any time. With the consent of the meeting, I will dispense with the reading of such minutes. The first item of business is the presentation of the consolidated combined financial statements of Granite REIT and the auditor's report therein. With the consent of the meeting, I will dispense with the reading of the auditor's report. We will now proceed with the election of the trustees. The number to be elected is 10. I declare the meeting open for nominations, and I will ask Alison Clements to nominate the individuals specified in the meeting information circular for the meeting.
I nominate Robert D. Brower, Amber Chowdhury, Rem Podal, Kevin Gorey, Fern Grosvenor, Jonathan Kelly, Kelly Marshall, Al Mawani, Emily Pang, and Jennifer Warren to serve as trustees of Granite REIT and to hold office until the next annual general meeting or until their earlier resignation or removal or their successors are duly elected or appointed.
May I have the motion seconded?
I second the motion.
Thank you. These nominees have accepted their nominations, and in accordance with the advance notice provisions of the Granite Declaration of Trust, no further nominations may be made at this time. Therefore, I declare the nominations closed. May I have a motion for the election of the 10 nominees?
I move that each of the 10 individuals nominated for election as trustee of Granite REIT be elected on the basis proposed with immediate effect.
May I have the motion seconded?
I second the motion.
Would those registered unit holders and duly appointed proxy holders who do not have already voted online or by proxy please submit their online ballot for the election of trustees by selecting a voting option on the screen panel displayed on your screen. We will move to the next item of business, which is the reappointment of the auditor. May I have a motion that Deloitte LLP be reappointed as auditor of Granite REIT until the next annual general meeting or until a successor is appointed?
I so move.
May I have the motion seconded?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we will conduct the vote by way of online ballot. We will now move on to the next item of business, which is a consideration of the non-binding advisory resolution on Granite's approach to executive compensation. As described in the Management Information Circular dated April 9, 2026, and made available to unit holders are being asked to approve the resolution on Granite's approach to executive compensation. Our board values the opinion of Granite's unit holders. Although the vote is non-binding, the board and its committees will take into account the outcome of the vote when considering Granite's compensation philosophy. Granite will disclose the voting results of the say-on-pay resolution as part of their report on voting results for the meeting. The advisory resolution is set out on page 22 of the Management Information Circular. May I have a motion on the advisory resolution?
I so move.
May I have the motion seconded?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we will conduct the vote by way of online ballot. Is there any other formal business that may be properly brought before this meeting? It is now 10:12, and the polls on the matters of business will close, and at 1 minute to the current time of 10:12, for those of you who have not voted on all of the matters and businesses, please do so now. We will now take a short break while the polls close and the results are tabulated by the scrutineer. The polls are now closed. I confirm based on the scrutineer's preliminary report that all matters put to a ballot have been passed with the requisite unit holder approval. Accordingly, I hereby declare the trustees elected, the auditors reappointed, and the advisory resolution on executive compensation approved. A report disclosing the voting results will be filed on SEDAR and disclosed in a press release promptly following the meeting. That concludes the voting at today's meeting. For the information of the meeting with respect to Granite's majority and voting policy, I note that Granite has received proxies and votes in respect of the election of each nominee that results in a greater number of votes in favor of his or her election than the number withheld from his or her election. There being no further business, that concludes the formal business of the meeting. I declare the formal part of this meeting now terminated. We will now have a presentation from Kevin Gorey, Granite's President and CEO. A copy of the presentation will be available on Granite's website following the meeting.
Thanks, Kelly, and morning, everyone. As mentioned, I will now present a brief summary of our results performance for 2025 and year-to-date 2026, and also provide an outlook for the remainder of this year before we open the line for any questions. As Kelly mentioned, a full copy of this presentation will be available on our website at the conclusion of our AGM, so I will focus only on a few major points on each slide. – 2025 was a year highlighted by strong financial and operational performance, including significant progress on the leasing front, as I will discuss, improvement in Granite's unit price, and our 15th consecutive annual distribution increase. We show this slide every year as a reminder of our origin and how our business has transformed and evolved since our inception in January of 2013. You can see how Granite has grown from a Magna-dominated portfolio of just under $2 billion to today, where you as unitholders now own a $9.5 billion portfolio of predominantly modern logistics assets in key markets in North America and Western Europe. Geographically, and although not exactly to scale, here you can visualize our geographic diversification in more detail. Our portfolio concentration has remained relatively stable from 2024, but we are pleased to highlight that we have entered the exciting and dynamic UK and South Florida markets resulting from acquisitions in the fourth quarter of 2025. The highlights contained herein reflect another very strong year of financial performance, as key metrics of FFO and AFFO per unit were up nicely from 2024, driven by strong operating performance, as the team achieved, as you can see, a weighted average increase on renewals of almost 50% and completed over 2 million square feet of new leases in a year, improving our committed occupancy from 95% at the end of 2024 to an industry-leading 98.6% at the end of 2025. I would also like to acknowledge here Granite's track record of financial performance as summarized on the right graph. As a result of strong operating performance combined with prudent and opportunistic capital allocation, Granite has delivered an average annual growth rate of over 8% since 2020. Following a quiet year of 2 expansion and 1 development projects and no acquisitions in 2024, Granite invested roughly $350 million in leading Tier 1 markets in South Florida, Houston, and the UK, taking advantage of a compelling investment market conditions to enter or expand in these key markets at attractive yields with strong growth potential. To help fund our acquisition program, and as communicated at our AGM last year, we disposed of select non-strategic assets in U.S. markets where we had higher concentration and evolving assets where we believe we have already maximized value. As a result of this balanced approach to portfolio modification and improvement, our balance sheet remained one of the strongest in the entire Canadian REIT sector, finishing the year with liquidity just under $1 billion and debt to EBITDA at just 7 times. At Granite, we continue to pragmatically incorporate sustainability into our corporate decisions and actions, and I am pleased to report that Granite was recognized once again as a leader in this sector by GRESB, the largest real estate sustainability benchmark globally, both in terms of disclosure and overall score. And as you can see, we continue to allocate the proceeds from our green bonds towards eligible green projects, and we expect to be fully allocated within the next few years. In the fourth quarter of 2025, we commenced the third phase of our successful Houston development site, a 391,000 square foot build-to-suit project fully leased to a Fortune 100 company for a 12-year lease term, which is expected to generate an unlevered stabilized yield of 7.5%, with completion scheduled for the fourth quarter of this year. And looking forward, we will continue to prioritize future build-to-suit opportunities within our portfolio and further would look to add new sites over time to our land bank to augment our future development program within our target markets. After 14 consecutive annual increases to our annual distribution of 10 cents, the board elected to increase the annual distribution by 15 cents or 4.4% for 2026. That decision was taken only because we were able to balance such an increase while maintaining a conservative AFFO payout ratio, which finished 2025 at just 65%. Turning to our unit performance for the year, Granite generated a total return of almost 23% for 2025, well above the TSX REIT Index return of 9.6%. And more importantly, as you can see from the graph on the right, Granite has very strongly outperformed the index over the long term since our inception in 2023. Looking forward, priorities will shift somewhat from year to year, but the key principles remain the same. Driving FFO and NAV growth through effective management and capital allocation remain our priorities, and to us should lead to higher long-term return for unitholders. On that note, we are projecting another strong year of growth, with FFO per unit expected to increase by 6 to 8% over 2025, and debt to EBITDA decreased to 6.8 times in the first quarter of 2026. Finally, from a capital allocation standpoint, different market conditions merit different approaches, and we believe that current conditions provide us with attractive opportunities to continue to deploy capital in leading Tier 1 logistics markets at yields and growth profiles that we believe will continue to improve our portfolio and generate attractive long-term total return for unitholders. In conjunction with these strategic acquisitions, we will also continue to identify select non-strategic assets for disposition and, when appropriate, utilize our ATM program in order to fund these investments. That is the conclusion of my presentation, and I will now turn the floor back to Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. We would now like to invite any supplemental questions from unitholders or proxy holders present at the meeting. As with a physical meeting, we will observe the same protocols of appropriateness and relevance to the meeting, and will do our best to address issues raised. Any attendees who would like to ask a question, please use the messaging feature on your screen to do so. We will now give attendees a moment to type in their questions. As there are no further questions, on behalf of the board and management of Granite, I would like to thank all unitholders, our unitholders, as well as others who have joined us today for your support and your attendance at this meeting. Thank you.
This concludes the meeting. You may now disconnect.